The first week of Advent and the first Advent candle symbolize hope. The faith that we have that God will keep his promises to humanity, and in particular, the faith that the Jewish people had that God would send the Messiah. At the time of Jesus' birth, it had been over 400 years since the Jewish people had heard an inspired word from God. This is the time that is known as the 400 years of silence, or the intertestamental period. The final words of the prophets had been the words of Malachi when he said, "Behold, I'm going to send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. He will restore the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, so that I will not come and smite the land with a curse." What followed the words of Malachi was a 400-year period when the people of Israel were ruled over by multiple empires, including the Persians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, and ultimately the Romans. While the rule of the Greeks was relatively brief, it was very important because it created a common language that would later be the way that the gospel would spread throughout the region, especially to those who were not Jewish. The Roman Empire provided the infrastructure that would also allow for the future spread of the gospel. Many of the Jewish institutions with which we are familiar from the New Testament developed during this period of time as well, including synagogues and the priestly courts, or Sanhedrin. The Sadducees and Pharisees, with their preoccupation with the law, also arose during this period of time. In 63 BC, the Romans would conquer this area, and Caesar would place Antipater in charge. Antipater was a descendant of Esau, and significantly, Antipater's son was Herod, who would become the king during the time of Christ's birth. And Herod, of course, would be the king when the angels spoke these words to Zacharias, as recorded in the book of Luke. "Do not be afraid, Zacharias, for your petition has been heard, and your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will give him the name John. You will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord, and he will drink no wine or liquor, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit while yet in his mother's womb. And he will turn many of the sons of Israel back to the Lord their God. It is he who will go as a forerunner before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers back to the children, and the disobedient to the attitude of the righteous, so as to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." These words foretold the coming of John the Baptist, and of course fulfilled the promise of Malachi's final words some 400 years before. A hope that had endured for over 400 years, and which still gives inspiration to us today, at the beginning of the Advent season.